This music is prohibited.
What's up, you guys? It's TabooThao here, and this is going to be part 2 of my series talking about the book The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Here is the reference. And if you missed the first video already, I would say go check it out, because that's where all the meat is of how I explained it with some of my perspectives on the chapter. But for a quick synopsis, the chapter starts out stating what the compound effect is, then going into giving some examples of how it works, and then thirdly, it describes how it can work positively or negatively in your life. Now, in the other previous video, the way I described the compound effect in my own words was the stacking of micro decisions or micro choices that led to your results of where you are in life, whether that's intended or not. I kind of want to shift that a little bit, right? So it makes more sense. So my new definition for the compound effect is the unification of these consistent micro decisions, and it's that unification that leads us to our results within our lives, whether that's intended or not. And so that's my new working definition. Going further, I literally I was listening back to my definition that I was trying to give out, and I was like, this kind of sucks, so I'm gonna try to revise it and refine it. And so this is what I came up with. So chapter 2 is probably one of the more controversial topics within the book. So if you're disagreeing with some of the ideas that are presented within this chapter, I think that's okay, because it means that you're critically trying to think about it, you're having some dissonance. And I would say the wrong way to approach this is to say, if you do have some dissonance with the ideas in this chapter and you completely ignore it, or you completely toss it to the side saying that it's garbage or it isn't, it really has no application in life, I think that's the wrong way to approach it. So just a friendly suggestion that you take whatever the book is trying to give us and critically think about why is the message in this chapter part of someone else's human experience? Like, how is it part of the human experience, and how can I shape my perspective to be more encompassing of the whole human experience? So if you disagree with some of the ideas that Darren Hardy is laying out in this chapter, it's okay, and I'm gonna try my best to describe these things to you guys, but hopefully I can do that for you guys. Okay, so first thing about this chapter is that this chapter is called choices. He lays out that everything is a choice, right? Every decision that you make or every action that you take in life is a choice, whether you did it consciously or unconsciously. So that's how I understood a little bit of the statement of saying everything is a choice, right? No matter how you feel, whatever you did is your choice. Now, in this first idea, he also talks about sleepwalking through the day, and that is essentially having us do things subconsciously that are negative towards where we want to go in life. So, for example, if you want to live a healthy life, and you have a fridge full of vegetables and meat and fruits, and then you have a cabinet full of a ton of junk food. And when you get hungry, if your trigger is to get hungry, and you immediately, what you do is you go to the cabinet to grab the junk food, then you're essentially sleepwalking through the day, because there are things in our lives that we don't debate over. We just do because it's habit, or it's something we do automatically, and it's reflexive, it's reactive, it's not proactive, right? And so what Darren Hardy is trying to say is become aware of the triggers and become aware of the results that happen because of the triggers. The next big topic is taking responsibility, and you have to take 100% responsibility, full responsibility. It's not the full responsibility of let's say you're helping your brother carry something heavy, and you let go, and that heavy thing drops on your brother's toes, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry. That's not really full responsibility. Full responsibility would be would be like, hey, I dropped this on your toe, and it's my duty, it's my responsibility to see that you're able to get back to the state that you were at before I dropped this on your toe. In the example that Darren Hardy gives, he went to the seminar, and the seminar speaker was like, he asked the question to the group, hey, how much of, in a relationship, how much of the shared responsibility do you have in making this relationship work? And Darren Hardy, gut reaction, said 50-50. The seminar speaker after everybody said their piece was like, no, it's not 70-30, it's not 30-70, it's not 80-20, it's 100% to 0. And you have to have no expectations of getting anything in return. To unpack it, this is how I was unpacking it for myself, as to why would it just be 100% of me putting it into a shared responsibility, right? Shared meaning that that person has responsibility too. Like, why doesn't it make sense? And so I think the simplest way that I can explain it is with this analogy. So we have 3 containers of water. The first 2 containers can only contain 10 pounds of water. The third container contains up to 20 pounds of water. And the goal is to get the third container to the top, right? 20 pounds of water. So obviously the solution is to give the 10 pounds from both containers to the third container. There you have it. There's the solution, right? So now let's say that instead of water, it's 10 pounds of love in the first 2 containers, and 20 pounds of love for the third container. The same answer still applies. Now, instead of containers, let's switch it out for people and the idea of the relationship. So the first 2 people, right, or the first 2 containers are the 2 people entering in a partnership, and the third container is the partnership. So the same answer still applies. You need to give both people, previously both containers, so both people need to give their 10 pounds of love into the partnership that can contain up to 20 pounds of love. Now, before we go all ballistic on me and being like, yo, but there's like a lot of nuance in that little scenario. Yes, there is definitely a lot of nuances in that scenario because we're human beings, we're complex, we like to give nuance to things. So before you even start being like, yo, like, yeah, like that makes sense, but not every relationship is always going to be like that, and some days you might have to give more than the other person, that is always incorrect. You can't give more than what you don't have. So I don't want to get deep into it because this is a summary, but just to kind of explain my thought process behind it is that going back to the example of if you're only giving 50% of the containers, 50% of the people's love into this partnership, the third container, then you're only providing 5 pounds from the first 2 people, the first 2 containers, into this third relationship partnership container. If we're only giving 5 pounds from the 2 people, then we're only going to end up with 10 pounds of love within the partnership. Whenever a partnership doesn't feel like fully, like both people are putting their all into the relationship, it never feels nice. To tackle the first part of the answer that the seminar speaker was giving to the whole group is that yes, you do have to give 100% in order for the shared responsibility of the partnership to work, because the partnership itself is a different and separate entity from the individuals entering into that partnership. And so when you say just 50%, yes, technically speaking, the partnership technically is filled up with 50% of you and 50% of your partner, but that 50% of you is actually 100% of you. That 50% within the relationship is 100% of you individually. So if you only give 50%, only 25% will be translatable into the partnership. So when you say 50-50, that actually in terms of individual contribution to making this relationship work, then it translates into you're only giving 25%, right? And that could apply to you, it can apply to your partner. That's the first part, right? The second part was like that the seminar guest speaker or the seminar speaker said to the group was that you have to expect nothing in return. I think that's true. I think that if you're always expecting your partner or your loved one to show you that they love you, then and then your partner starts feeling that they starts thinking and getting a feeling that like, oh, I need to show them that I love them, it can start running towards a place of obligation. I'm showing you love out of obligation, not strictly out of love. It's not that I'm showing you love because I love you. I'm showing you love because I feel obligated to show you that I love you because you're expecting me to show you that I love you. And personally, I would hate to be in that position, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people would hate to be in that position too. So that's how I unpacked the example that the book was giving us. So that not only translates, so I've been talking about relationships a lot right now and about love, but taking full responsibility can translate into a lot of different things. And you have to translate that to every single choice in your life that you make, whether it's conscious or subconscious. So this ties directly back into the first idea of this chapter, which is everything you do is a choice that you made. And since you made that choice, since you did that action, take full responsibility of that action. Don't blame others. Don't excuse yourself. Like, you have to take full responsibility. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to destroy yourself. You don't need to destroy your self-esteem. You don't need to destroy who you are as a person, like, or you don't need to devalue yourself, right? And I think that definitely is a danger with this idea of taking full responsibility, for sure, is that some people, as a tendency of how they grew up in their situation, that they can lend themselves towards this place of this really dark place. Don't self-deprecate yourself. It's just saying it's recognizing that you had the power to do something about this. You have the power to change your life. A famous quote is in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, right? That's the great quote that Uncle Ben gave to Peter Parker. If you're not a comic fan, that's okay. Go watch the Spider-Man movies. They should be there too. But with great power comes great responsibility. I would like to actually confront that notion and say that it's the reverse. With great responsibility comes great power. It's not first comes power, then comes responsibility. It's first comes responsibility, then comes power. So that's the second idea. That's the second big idea here. That's the second big idea here of the chapter 2 within the compound effect. The third big idea, which ties all of these things together, is the idea of luck. So there's a lot of notions of luck out there. The most common one is that luck is something. Luck is essentially a huge blessing that comes into somebody's life, and they never worked for that. It just happened to happen, and they happen to be in the right place at the right time, right? Luck can be quantified. Luck can be quantified, and the book's quantification of this formula is that you need to prepare. So you need to study up on the job. You need to get all the skills you need to do in order to perform the job. You need to prepare yourself for that. Secondly, you need to have the attitude and so attitude, how the book defines it, is essentially the belief that you can get the job, the belief that you can do well on the job, the belief that the skills that the preparation that you're doing will lead you towards the job, right? It's the belief that you can do it. Just like Thomas the Train, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. That's the attitude you need to have, right? And eventually you do. And then the third is the opportunity, right? The third portion, the third component here is actually the actual lucky moment that people perceive, that people experience. So the opportunity lands in your lap, and then the fourth is the action, making sure that you can deliver on the opportunity, making sure that you can deliver that. And so that's the third and final big idea within the compound effect. And again, this one, just a synopsis, just a summary. Always recommend you guys go read it. Go read the book. It's really good. It's really good philosophically speaking, and it provides a lot of detailed examples that can hopefully elevate your way of thinking or expand your ways of thinking. And I think that this chapter 2, is the most controversial in terms of like in terms of mindset, in terms of philosophical thinking. But if you've been listening and you've been having some dissonances and this got you thinking, I think that's good. Please keep thinking. That's the best thing you can do. Albert Einstein said that the greatest gift that a human has is the ability to think, not the ability to store facts, but the ability to think. So this is the end of chapter 2, you guys. If you liked this, if you found it thought-provoking, please smash that like button. Let me know that you actually like it. Let me know that you actually enjoy this content. So if I should just keep going with this or not. And if you like this chapter 2 video, go check out chapter 1. The next video that's coming out is going to be about chapter 3. Again, there's 6 chapters in this book. The Compound Effect. If you don't have a physical copy, go get it. Go read it. But if you're not much of a reader, then hopefully what I provide today can provide some insight onto what Darren Hardy is trying to tell us. And if you're about a community that is trying to help each other through solidarity, come subscribe to the channel. I will be posting a lot of new things or different things, not just book knowledge, but also skills that I have and hopefully that you can just learn from. And if you made it to the end of the video, thank you, honestly, just for watching. Thank you. And again, until next time, peace.
어긴 꿈에서 깨어나고 덕분에 사는 것 같았다고 그 말을 건네주지 못했네 끝까지 모질게 했네 이놈의 이별은 대체 익숙해지지가 않네 끝이 아니기를 바랄게 난 너를 꼭 다시 또 봐야 돼 시간의 숨통이 끊어진 기억에 저편에 두고 온 우리까지도 슬프고 아름답게 만든 추억을 현실로 가져와 끝내기 아쉬운